eight, eight of doing it hard. I keep asking myself, is this going to get easier? And I don't know if it is. I genuinely get nervous every single time I do this. My heart beats a little bit fast. My hands get a little bit sweaty, and I'm not really 100% sure why, except for having a lot of fear around the possible judgment or the possible opinion of others. And that's something that I think a lot of us struggle with. Like, we care a lot about what people think, and there's a lot of scientific good reasons for that. From, oh, you needed to be a part of a tribe when we were, back in the day, we needed to be accepted in that tribe, and that was a big way of how we survived. And today it's changed a lot, but we still have a lot of those primitive fears, those primitive anxieties, I guess. Um, I was thinking about, what can I get on here? How can I get on here and actually add value to people? And something that comes up a lot is people saying to share your story authentically. So I'm going to try to do a better job at sharing my story and just my reflections and how I'm going through my life currently, how I used to go through my life, and what has changed for me over the years. It's really interesting. I never have loved oh, I used to be this and now I'm this, because I just didn't feel like that's how humans worked. I didn't feel like humans worked in such a easy binary way, which is like, oh yeah, one day, I came across this thing and my whole life changed and everything was better for forever. It doesn't seem like we work that way. At least not in my experience. Now, if you've experienced your life working that way, that's awesome. Good for you. I am I know that there are things that you can change quickly, and I know that there are things that you can, yeah, you can just switch and change quickly, but there are also those things that take a little bit more time for whatever reason. And maybe it's just because of where we're at spiritually, maybe it's where we're at just in our growth journey. um so something that I wanted to share about today, and getting a little bit vulnerable here, is just my deep struggle with depression over the years. Most mornings, even to this day, I wake up and I say, dang it. Like, my first thought in my head, and I'm just being honest, my first thought in my head is, man, I woke up again. I have to keep going. And there's always a little bit of, I don't know how else to describe it, always a little bit of frustration and sadness. And it's like, man, I have to keep going and keep doing this whole life, and I have to keep trying, and I don't know if I can keep going, and I don't know if I can do it. And there's been times that has been much worse than that. I may have mentioned in other videos before that I've tried to attempt suicide at least twice, and I definitely have struggles with suicidal ideation, and yeah, and depression is just something that has really been a big part of my life for a long, long time. And I wish it was one of those things that I could just snap my finger and say, oh, I used to do this, but now I'm this because of this, this, and this, and this. But really, me getting to the point where I can actually function throughout the day without being totally overwhelmed by that depressed feeling has been a lot of hard work. It's been a lot of reading books and learning, and a lot of journaling, and a lot of meditation, and a lot of changing the diets and habits that I have. It's working out, it's going for walks, it's learning how my body responds to specific things. And that's just part of the human journey. Like, you have to figure out yourself. You have to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And I want to encourage you, if you're struggling with any of these things that we call mental disorders like depression or anxiety, that you can get through it. And I know that especially when you're in the depth of it, it can be really difficult. It can be really, really difficult to think that, oh, I can make it through this, because everything is telling you that you can't. One thing that helped me, and sometimes helped me, was that I could look at it and I'm like, well, I have made it this far. I've made it through all the challenges I've had. And I've had a lot of hard challenges in my life, and I've made it through every single one of them. Somehow, miraculously, I have made it through. And I hate that if I can do it, you can do it. But I do know that you have the power within you to make it through even the darkest days. I don't believe that God gives you things that you cannot handle. Sometimes we have to reach outside of ourselves. Sometimes we have to reach out for help. And I love that line in Charlie McKay's book. And I always mess up the title of it for some reason, but it's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And the boy asks the horse, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" And the horse says, "Help." And I think we sit with ourselves and we don't want to be a burden to others. And I think too that there's been times, like for myself, that I've been burnt by asking for help. Like, "Oh, you don't, what are you talking about? You're not sad. You're fine. Get up. You're fine." And it's like, whoa, I don't feel fine. I feel really bad. And kind of like dismissed. But I want to encourage you to keep going, because there are people out there that do love you and want to help. And there are people out there that care about you. And maybe you need to pull yourself up a little bit by yourself. You need to pull yourself up a little bit. But here's the thing. I know that I know you can make it through. I know. And I realize how hard it can be. I genuinely do. And though I don't have maybe your personal experience, I do have my own. And my own has been 30 years. I mean, I'm 30 years old, but I just feel like for as long as I can remember, I've battled this cloud, this darkness, this almost this force. And it's compounded, it's the depression, and then it's compounded with anxiety and all these other things. But I've really, really worked hard to try to overcome these things. And it's funny because I genuinely haven't really talked to any like therapists, but I have talked to a lot of people. I've talked to life coaches, I've talked to friends, I've talked to family. And just being able to talk about it and having somebody to listen is such a powerful thing that we underestimate. So if you have a loved one that is struggling with one of these things, maybe you can be that person that just listens to them. It's not about offering solutions, because frankly, I don't think you can offer them solutions. Have to they have to get through it themselves in a lot of ways. But you can be there as an encouragement and as a listener. And sometimes that's all it takes to save a life. I have volunteered before on the suicidal hotlines, and all you're trained to do is listen. That's it. And you can't change them. You can't change the way they see themselves. But that listening is a good start. Man, I didn't realize how hard this was actually going to be to talk about out loud. I'm stumbling a lot because it's something that there's a lot of voices in my head right now saying, "Oh, who are you to talk about this? There are people dying every day, and you're a white male and you don't have any rights." So I apologize that there's some hesitation in my voice. It's just because I have I don't know, I have a lot of fear around this. I have a lot of fear around this subject. I have a lot of fear that that it's not real and that it's made up, and that I'm exaggerating the way I have felt in the past. But I do know that I have taken a lot of pills. I do know that I have sat with a gun to my head on a few occasions. And it's really hard. It's really hard. So if there's any words that I can offer somebody going through this, it's just that I know it's hard. But I know that somewhere inside of you has the strength to keep going. And I know it's so hard to see because it's so faint. That light is so faint and it's almost non-existent. It's almost non-existent. And that's a tough place to be in. It's a tough place. Whew, that got a lot heavier than I was expecting it to get. I apologize. I get on here and I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but that just came to my heart. So there we go. I talked about depression, and I think it'll be something that I'll try to get better at talking about. It'll be something I'll get better at talking about. But I want to encourage two things. If you are depressed or feeling down or just feel like the whole world is against you, I just want to encourage you that you have the power to keep going. And I know it doesn't feel that way, but you can. And if you really, really, really don't feel like you can, reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody for help. Reach out to somebody for help. And this is something that, people tell you not to do, but I do this. I don't care. If you're at your wit's end, if you feel like you can't keep going, reach out to me. I won't be able to save you, but I will be able to offer a listening ear, and I will also point you to some resources that you can use. Anyway, if you're on the other end and you know a loved one, you know somebody that's struggling with depression, I just encourage you to reach out to them. Don't wait until they reach out to you, because it's really hard to do. But just reach out to them in non-judgment and be like, hey, if you need somebody to talk to, I'd love to listen to you. I'd love to listen to your story. I'd love to hear what you're going through. And just show up for them and listen to them. I don't know how many suicides happen a day these days, but I will say that it's a lot. It's way too many. Way too many people take their life. And this is something, too, that's, I guess, on my heart, because I had a conversation with a relative of mine recently about this, and they were going through something similar, and they contemplated suicide seriously. So it is a heavy topic. It's a heavy topic, and it's a hard topic to talk about. It's definitely hard for me to talk about it, but it's important that we give voices to people who are going through this, because it's really hard to have your own voice when you're going through this. It's really hard to not see that there's another option or that there's another way. And it's really hard to convince somebody who is maybe broke and in despair and doesn't feel like they have any purpose and feel like they've caused pain and all the stuff. Anyway, I'm going to end it here, because I could probably just ramble for another 10 minutes. And I'm not really sure where else I want to go with this, except just to say that you have the power to keep going. It's within you. And I know you have to dig really, really deep within your psyche, really deep within yourself, but you have the power to keep going. If you don't feel that way, shoot me a DM, reach out. I love you. You are enough, and you are loved just as you are. I don't care what background you come from, what religious background, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, non-religious, whatever. You are loved and enough as you are. You matter. You matter because you are here. I love this shirt. This is one of my favorite creators on Instagram, the We Love You guys, but I got one of their shirts. So, just spreading their message of love and light. We love you. We love you. The universe is a good universe that loves you. God is good, and He loves you. Thanks for watching.